so lucky today to be sitting down with two incredible people. First, I have my mother on the show, Adriana Barraza, who is my dear friend and someone that I've grown to love. And we together get to share time with a living legend, someone who has dedicated her life to serving her community and her country and to the people that have needed her most. We have Miss Dolores Huerta today here that we're going to get a chance to sit and spend some time talking to about Penny Dreadful and about the world at large. I play Tiago Vega on the show, and I am a community organizer and a union leader. And I think I very much, my character has felt the calling to lead people that he feels are being taken advantage of. And those people are his own people that look like him, that live where he lives, work where he works. And undoubtedly people like you, Dolores, and Caesar, and others that I had in mind for inspiration, in terms of creating this character, were tremendous. And the possibility of getting people excited was a tremendous feeling. And here we are at a time when characters like this are more necessary than ever. And I know I'm very excited. I know Adriana is to just have this conversation with you and hopefully walk away with knowing more than we did when we began right now, or when we get started. Now, you were just a young girl when the show takes place. You were born in 1930. What are the things you remember that were going on at that time in terms of social change? And was there cohesion between the communities that were trying to affect that change?
Well, I might say that I think there was very little cohesion at that time. Pretty much the sentiment was that this is the way things are. There's really not very many ways that you can change it. I think people just didn't realize, and of course that was an awakening even for myself, to know that, yeah, there are things that you can do to change things. And I think that was my great awakening. But many people didn't know that. And in fact, in today's world, we still have a lot of people that don't realize that they can actually become engaged, become involved, and that they can actually affect change. And of course, that's kind of our mission of my foundation and so many of the people that we have seen marching and protesting out there. And it's kind of interesting because, of course, in the last scenes of City of Angels, you see the brute force of the police. And here, as you mentioned, that was so many decades ago, and yet we have seen that all of the the protesters, the marching that has been going on is exactly about that same issue.
Me sentí muy orgullosa de estar en una serie donde un creador como John Logan tiene las agallas de ponerlo en escena y de la desafortunada visión, ¿verdad?, de que esto iba a volver a pasar. Son sentimientos muy encontrados, pero básicamente me siento muy orgullosa de estar en una serie, en un producto televisivo, en un producto que puede llevarle a la gente el sentimiento de lo que está pasando en la calle, está pasando también. Y el ejemplo de que lo que pasó en los 30s desafortunadamente está pasando ahora.
I wish that every Latino could watch this series para que aprendan, ¿no? Para que miren cómo trabaja el sistema y para que sepan que el sistema, de modo que está trabajando, no está en favor de usted, pero está en contra de usted.
Yes, and you have to participate in the system because you are a part, whether you like it or not, we are all a part of this system.
Dolores, ¿y cuál es en este momento el área en donde más estás enfocándote? Porque ya sabemos que hay desafíos, así como había desafíos en los 30s, hay desafíos ahora que serán diferentes, ¿no? Por supuesto. ¿Puedes hablarnos un poco de eso? ¿Y cuál es el área en la que tú estás enfocándote en este momento?
In the issue of defunding the police, actually, our organization, the Dolores Huerta Foundation, we were able to take several $1 million out of the police budget several years ago because in the state of California, they have what they call the local control funding formula. And under that formula, all of the school districts get their money directly from the state. But then the school districts have to take recommendations from the community and from the parents and the students. Police have no business on the school grounds, you know? They have no business there. And when I went to school, and I don't know about you, But when I went to school, we didn't have any police on the campuses. I mean, that's a more recent phenomenon, you know, that came in with this whole fighting crime ideas when they passed the 3 strikes laws and all of these measures to incarcerate people. And so this is one of our missions is stopping the school to prison pipeline. School to prison, and it's not just here in Kern County, it's in Los Angeles, it's in New York, it's in Texas. Everywhere I go to speak, we have the same issues. And who are the kids that are being incarcerated? It's Black and brown. So this is fighting the whole police system is something that I am happy that the protesters are making that one of their top issues. And I think we have to make this a top issue in our communities also.
Yeah, well, we have to deprivatize prisons as well, because the police are then incentivized to put people in jail because it's a money-making operation.
Exactly.
You know.
And that is so sad, because we cannot have a country that it is run for profits. You know, we have to think about, and I like to think of the indigenous people. And we have indigenous roots, los mexicanos, no? Tenemos raíces indígenas, and the indigenous way of life was sharing and cooperation and taking care of each other. This is the only way that we survived on this planet, is by protecting and taking care of each other. And we have to come back to those values, which are really human values, if we are going to prosper as a nation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see anything different about the momentum and the way that protesting is happening right now versus the 60s or any other time in history that you've seen people rally and get behind wanting to make some change with protesting?
Yeah, and I think back in the 60s, you know, you had the white kids marching because they didn't want to go to the Vietnam War. That was self-interest. You know? You had the Black kids marching because they wanted civil rights. You had the Latinos marching because they wanted immigrants' rights. And ahorita lo que se está mirando, that everybody's marching together, and they're marching not only for civil rights, but against police misconduct, but they're throwing something else in there too. They're talking about income inequality. The fact that you have 1% of the corporation, 1% of the families, like Walmart, that own 50% of the wealth of the United States of America. 1%. Y tenemos multimillonarios, you know, you got these billionaires that have so much money, you know, money to burn. And so this is wrong, because if we haven't, and we just celebrated the 4th of July, and tenemos la idea de este país that this is a government by the people and for the people, no? Mm-hmm. By the people and for the people. But instead, we have a country that is for the corporations, by the corporation, and not by the people. So this is, I think, what is different right now, is that young people are saying that this is wrong, that we've got to change the whole system of the way that we run our country. And I think that's what is different that we are seeing today. Now that you have the internet and they have access to all this information, you can't hide it from people. It's all out there. The information is very visible, and they, you know, they have the compassion so that they are sharing those feelings of the communities of color about the inequities that exist in our system. And when we see these, you know, we might say hundreds of thousands of young people that are marching, and these are not just Latinos. These are Anglo kids that are out there marching on the streets, you know, and that they are marching for us, basically. They're marching for Black people, they're marching for brown people, they're marching for justice, and they want to see change. And I think this is when we are living this miracle. It's almost like a miracle.
What do you think is the biggest obstacle? I mean, because to me, it seems like people don't understand how quickly we can affect change if we fully participate in the system in the kind of numbers that we have to be able to do that. Do you think the result doesn't seem fast enough for people, or they just don't understand how much power we have as a collective voting population?
You said it. He just said it right now, the collective power that we have, you know, as Latinos. And I think que no entienden, they don't understand. We, the Latinos, can be the deciders. We can be the referees in so many of these elections, but we have to convince our people to do that, because we have millions, literally, of Latinos who are registered to vote and don't vote. Mm-hmm. We have millions who could become citizens and register to vote, and they don't become citizens. So this is the job that we have, I think, as community organizers, and yourselves as actors and people that the Latinos look up to, that we have to take this on. That's why I am so enamored with organizing, because to me, it's like having a magic wand. You go into a community and you organize the people and tell them, this is what what is it that you need to change in your community? And then they decide, and they usually have a laundry list of things, but you have to pick 1 or 2 or 3 things and prioritize them. Then we get together and we go out there and we organize and we make that change. And once that they see that they can do it, oh my God, it's addicting. You know, when I speak in public, one of the chants that I do at the end of the program is I say to the people, and I ask them to shout it back to me. And the question I ask them, I say to them, who's got the power? And I want them to answer, we've got the power. And then we say, what kind of power? And they say, people power. And then when people do that, then they feel it. And then of course, we always end with a big si se puede.
Do you have any words of wisdom about the youth and everybody that's really engaged in making this movement continue to move forward and get the kind of change that we want to see from it, about staying engaged, about staying involved, about making sure that the focus doesn't get lost on making these changes?
And I think we really have to focus on our educational system. If we really want to get rid of racism, then we've got to go back to the origins of racism, which is slavery, which is domination, which is conquest, you know? And go back to the roots of that slavery and see how it has affected so many people, not only Black people, brown people, because Native Americans who were the first slaves. And so people can understand what the roots of racism are, and this is what it is. And then that leads to domination, and it leads to domination of people, it leads to domination of women. It kind of leads to like all of the isms that we have in our society, including extending that to people that are homosexual. And we know that in our community, the Latino community, we have a lot of homophobia. Y siempre les digo lo que dijo Benito Juárez, el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz.
Exactamente.
And that goes to women's right to having their right for their own reproductive systems, how many children they want to have. And it goes to who you want to marry or you want to love. It doesn't make any difference whether you're gay or straight. Who you choose to be a partner is your business. You know, respecting other people's rights is peace. Lo que dijo Benito Juárez.
Exactamente.
Right. And then we have to show them how. We have
Exactly.
We have to continue, okay, this is the message, we have your attention now, this is how to continue to affect the change. And that'll be our responsibility as artists.
Absolutely. And art actually sustains a movement. And I really have to point to the farm workers movement in that respect, because I know you probably heard of Luis Valdez. And he started the Teatro Campesino with a few of the farm workers that got together and they would do these actos. And by doing the Teatro Campesino, Luis Valdez was able to really educate the workers and to motivate them and to give them the courage to be able to organize it, to go out on strike. So it spread, the movement spread, but that never would have happened without the art, without the songs, you know, that never would have happened.
And la gente se va a acordar y la gente puede ver en ese momento. Tú tienes la razón de que el arte en este sentido puede enseñar a las personas con ese choque emocional y entonces uno aprende rápidamente qué es lo que está pasando en este momento, no solamente en el pasado.
The light that you shine, that is yourself and all of the work that you've done, are there the specific areas that you wish you might have spent more time focusing on, or what would you say to somebody that's looking to dedicate themselves to, you know, continuing this movement? Where you think it really makes? Is it getting involved in government? Is it pushing one aspect of something that you do feel has the potential to make the most change? What would you give advice to somebody in regards to that?
Well, I think that's a really important question. And the answer, I think, está un poquito complicado, la respuesta, porque se me hace que tenemos que hacer las dos cosas al mismo tiempo. So we have to do, the answer is complicated, the question is complicated, because you kind of have to do both things at the same time. We have to organize at the grassroots level so that people can realize why they have to engage. And then, of course, we now have the elections coming up in November, and that is going to be so critical and so crucial. We have a couple of things on the ballot for November. One of them is to start affirmative action again, which we had in California. Republican Pete Wilson lo quitó, but where they had to set aside, tenían que poner oportunidades en los colegios para personas de color. So they had to set apart, you know, spaces in the colleges for Latinos and African Americans, and for women also, you know. And so that we had that, and Peopleson took it away. Now it's going to be on the ballot, ACA 5 in November. We have schools and communities first. And this is an initiative that our organization is working on also, and that will bring in $12 billion into our schools in California.
Is that for primary school education, or is that only for college education?
That'll be for all systems. And
okay.
And I didn't mention where the money was going to come from, okay? The money is going to come from the big major corporations that do not pay their fair share of property taxes. Now, and they're going to try to scare a lot of, especially Latinos, because they're going to say, oh, this is going to affect the small business. It won't. It will not affect small businesses. Anybody who has a business under $3 million, it will not affect them. And a lot of the current corporations, you know, recent corporations, they're already paying their fair share. This is going to a lot of the big guys that over the years have not paid their fair share of property taxes. So that's where the money's coming from.
Excellent. I mean, and it is, education is the key to all of this. I mean, at the youngest age possible. I mean, we live in a state that is so wealthy, that has so many resources. There is no reason why we should not be #1 in education in this country, and setting an example for the rest of the United States as to what they should all be living up to on a state-by-state basis. We have to improve that. So many other things, in my opinion, will improve just by committing to that simple thing.
Exactly. And especially the Latino community, because in Los Angeles, for instance, and even here in the Valley, the majority of the children right now in all of the elementary schools are Latinos. And then on the census, okay, because so many of our people still have not signed up for the census, and we have to educate them, because the government gives out $1.5 trillion every year, the federal government. And how do they know where to put that money? Depending on how many people are counted. And every person that's counted in California, we bring in $2,500 for each person. Cada uno de nosotros que nos contamos traemos $2,500 a nuestra comunidad. Pero como la gente ahorita tiene miedo, y la cosa es que es privado, no va a haber pregunta de ciudadanía en el censo, pero mucha gente tiene miedo y vamos a perder millones y millones de dólares si la gente no se apunta, si la gente no participa. Las preguntas son poquitas, no quieren el nombre de las personas en su casa, en su hogar, y las fechas de nacimiento, es todo.
Sí, yo ya lo hice, y son poquitas preguntas, realmente, claro.
And in fact, we need artistas que nos ayuden, porque la gente está muy terca, muy terca. Tenemos lugares donde nomás 10% de las personas han respondido. And not only we're going to lose a lot of money, but again, we need the votes, and we're going to lose a congressional seat. We need a Latino congressman, but we're going to lose some of those seats if the people don't participate, porque también dan los distritos del Congreso según que tanta gente está en una área. So, ahorita nosotros podemos decir desesperados que la gente no quiere participar. So we're doing everything that we can. Like I mentioned, we're giving food out, food banks. So cuando vienen por la comida, les preguntamos, ¿ya participaron en el censo? Y si no, ahí los agarramos en ese momento. And so we've been able to get hundreds right now of people to participate, because quieren comida, okay, come over here. Vamos a participar aquí en el censo. So that's the way we're doing it. And now we're going to start going door to door, even though we know we have this COVID-19, pero we have to go door to door de vuelta, porque si no, la gente no va a participar.
Yeah, we have to invite them. Through our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We have to invite it.
Qué bueno.
Yes.
Yo tengo una lema, y mi lema es que si no nos contamos, nos fregamos, ¿ok?
Ajá.
Yeah.
Bravo, me gusta.
We have to take responsibility for ourselves. I mean, I think that's the encouraging thing too. It's like, you know, we are a resourceful people. And we have no problem getting our hands dirty and getting to work and building, but we have to take the responsibility to build the future we want to build, and that means stepping up and doing these things even when you're a little scared to do them. You know, that is the tough part, is convincing people to become active in that way, even something so small. I mean, it's smart to incentivize.
Well, it's actually pretty big, because we're talking about $1.5 trillion that is distributed every year, and that we're not going to get that money. And our communities are the ones that need the resources the most, you know, because the people live in the poorest areas. We have a lot of child poverty. We have children that are hungry, and we're not going to get that money that we need for our community if the people don't sign up for the census, you know. So it's a very, very major issue for our people.
People in Mexico doesn't speak about Chicano issues, you know. I think it was a so far problem. It was not our problem as a Mexican. But now, thanks, but the media, I think in Mexico the people think about this big issue, because Chicano people is Mexican people, and when you, como mexicana, ahora yo me doy cuenta de la cantidad de personas mexicanas que hay acá, que nacieron acá o que son mexicanas, y creo que por medio de toda la publicidad que se ha dado, obviamente a cómo se nos ha tratado como mexicanos, como descendientes de mexicanos, especialmente en esta administración. Creo que eso ha dado la vuelta al mundo, y no solo en México, sino en muchos lugares se piensa que injusticias se cometen con los mexicanos que están en los Estados Unidos. Yo siempre digo a mis estudiantes, no piensen en mí o en ustedes, porque ustedes llegaron aquí en avión. Piensen en los que cruzaron hace muchos años o hace poquito y están aquí y cruzaron a pie. Piensen en esos, no en nosotros, que más bien nuestra voz es la que tiene que estar fuerte por aquellos que no la tienen porque están trabajando para darnos de comer.
Because people get so confused with what they get in the media. Well, some of us, you know, we're progressives, and we listen to the progressive radio stations, and you know, National Public Radio and MSNBC, etc. But you have people that listen to Fox News. So we just have to have a lot of patience and explain to people and get them to see reason. And I think one of the best ways to do that is by just telling them our stories, you know, telling them our stories of how people have suffered in this country. And I like to always tell, in terms of the Black community, the story of Emmett Till. And I don't know if you know the story of Emmett Till, and if you haven't, please look it up. And this was this young teenager who was murdered and bludgeoned to death. He was from Chicago. He went to Mississippi. They said that he whistled at a white woman, and for that they got him, and they beat his body so badly that he was totally disfigured. But his mother in Chicago, when they shipped the body back, she had an open casket, and over 50,000 people saw the body of that teenage young man, Emmett Till. And that was the beginning of the civil rights movement. So I think we have to tell them the stories, you know, tell them the stories about how they lynched 7,000 Mexicans in Texas after they took over, you know, that property from Mexico and the United States. And so by telling them stories and having a lot of patience and trying to reason with them, and it's not easy because their minds are poisoned, but we have to try to shed some light into their minds and put some compassion in their hearts. But I think we have to keep on doing it, and we will convert some people. Hopefully we will enlighten some people.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly it. I mean, I think it's a patience and compassion, and I think it also requires a lot of security in your own position, and not security to not be open-minded, but security that you are comfortable with what you know enough that you don't have to get lost in an argument with somebody. You can really keep things civil and try to get somewhere rather than get into an argument, because you're it's very hard to change somebody's way of thinking. All you can hope to do is give them something to walk away with. And I think if you engage in an argument, you only get down to who's right and who's wrong, as opposed to stimulating someone's way of thinking maybe differently. And you know, I think if you can move somebody 1 degree in a moment, and hopefully that 1 degree that you change the course of their thinking, then maybe over time that 1 degree ends up having a much bigger impact. You know, quite frankly, if you could just live your life with the golden rule in mind all the time, I think it's very hard to go wrong. You know, just treat others the way you want to be treated.
Soy muy agradecida con ustedes. I'm very, very grateful to all of you for letting me become part of the City of Angels family. Okay, really, really grateful to all of you. And I wish you good luck on the series, and may it go on for many, 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 many seasons.
Thank you,
Y
Dolores.
de verdad que yo agradezco muchísimo tener esta oportunidad de, junto con mi hijo Adam, de poder hablar con alguien tan grande, querida mía, a quien le debemos tanto, no nada más los mexicanos, porque no solamente somos los mexicanos, los nacidos aquí, los centroamericanos, los latinoamericanos, los hispanoamericanos, a alguien que ha luchado tanto. Es un orgullo para mí siempre poder platicar contigo y un honor, queridísima, un honor grande, grande. Muchas gracias.
So thank you very much for including me in your family. Quiero ser parte de esa familia.
You are in our family.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yes, of course.
Los Vegas.
You are the
You
inspiration.
are Vega
of our
too.
family. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, what an honor to
Thank
spend
you.
this time with you. Thank you, Dolores. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
Y hasta la próxima. Que no sea la última vez. I hope this isn't the last
Yes,
time.
of course. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Next time. Thank you.
Igual.
Bye, mamá. Bye, Dolores.
Bye, mi amor, te quiero.
Sí se puede.
Bye, querida.